No, understandably, implementing innovation starts with understanding the customer and seeing the trends, right? How difficult was it in each one of your companies to see as to where exactly things were headed, specifically in terms of the changing or evolving consumer behavior? And how did you really even listen to these changes in a company which is huge, like UPS, for example, Michelle, is mammoth, right? Effectively, I mean, it's just a gargantuan organization. So what are the different processes?
Yeah, so we really went after the voice of the customer. Normally in the past, we like to really think that we knew our customers well, and we'd like to innovate based on our interaction from sales and marketing with customers. But this time we did things a little bit differently. We sat down just like we're having this conversation on a video and really had one-on-one interviews with customers of all segments and all backgrounds, and really just listen, what do you need? Like, what do you need right now? What is your biggest challenge? What are you facing, right? So throw everything that we thought we knew about your business out the window, because your business just shifted, as Lulus pointed out, and tell me, what do you need? In some instances, we found out that we have those solutions. We just needed to remarket them and reposition them with certain customers. And then there were others that we figured out, you know what, we don't have that, but let's get it, right? And then broke that up into pieces and did several project teams and implemented agile type development and minimum viable products. But it all started with really changing the way that we got the voice of the customer, one-on-one videotaping conversations, and just letting them be open and raw, and in some cases so emotional. If you listen to some of the interviews, it was so emotional, like, my business is falling apart, or I need this, I need that. So just really, that was the first time we really done that. We did that in a large capacity, and then we went back to the table and we had these innovation roundtables, if you say, within our own company. We brought different diverse backgrounds of different people, whether we brought IE together, engineering, or marketing, accounting, sales. Like, we brought different backgrounds together and sat down and said, hey, here's a list of everything that we found out from the voice of the customer. Let's break it into different pieces. And then what can we go after right now? What do we need to put on the back burner? What can we fix? And how fast can we get something to market? And really just, pulled up, rolled up our shoulders and dug in. So the entire process of how we innovated completely changed.
Yeah. Luis, anything specific?
Yeah, I'll jump in on this one. So I'm going to pivot away from digital just a little bit and give an example from our product development team, because their vision and the way they approach innovation is a little different, because bourbon needs to sit in barrels for years and years and years and years before someone can enjoy it. So the two examples I'll give from an innovation perspective. The first was, to Michelle's point, crowdsourcing. So there are certain standards that are needed for a whiskey to be called bourbon. And we did a crowdsourcing effort a few years back called Craft Your Own Bourbon, or Craft Your Best Bourbon. And it basically was asking consumers what ingredients they'd like to see the most, whether it was, rye or wheat or barley. And that became an actual product. And I'm happy to say that just this past February, it won World's Best Bourbon in the World Whiskey Awards. So that's just an example of taking consumer feedback, turning it into a physical product that could then be leveraged. The second example, actually probably somewhat by accident, there was a terrible storm that damaged one of the warehouses. Some of the barrels were exposed to the elements over time. It turned out some of those barrels were very, very good bourbons. So we now have an entire warehouse X, dedicated to nothing but experimentation. And the first experiments were just purely based on temperature. Lower temperature, higher temperature, fluctuating temperature exposed to the elements. Over 6 million data points were collected. And those now, I'm happy to also say, are stored away, being aged, and at some point will be barrels that we release as net new product to the market. So from a long time horizon, how do you start thinking about innovation between crowdsourcing and then just using data available to the distillers, master distillers, to create something new and different? Those are two of the places that we put some focus over the last few years.
Lewis, my mouth is watering.
We'll have to get you some when they're ready.
Anything to add, Aaron, Christine, on that part? I mean, again, a 6-year-old company, the innovation process and the examples, I'm pretty sure, are very different.
Yeah, I mean, you know, for these other guys who have thousands of employees, our process is a little different. Something is broken, we just rip it up and start new the next day. It's a little easier. You know, I take one person of my, you know, less than 10 person team and say, hey guys, we're changing this. You know, go read everything you can about it on the internet and hire a vendor in the next 2 days and let's wing it. It's definitely a little different. So, you know, we were able to do some pretty crazy pivots incredibly quickly. Bye Bye Baby had been one of our top distribution outlets, and they all closed, obviously. And then Bye Bye Baby's parent, Bed Bath & Beyond, was in some credit trouble, it appeared. So we literally shut them off almost overnight and redirected all of that inventory to Amazon and D2C. And it was literally within a single week, I think within probably 2 or 3 days that those decisions were made. But we have luxuries like that because, you know, our systems aren't so old and antiquated that we can make 180 changes in a relatively short period of time. So it's very different for us.
I think that's powerful, though, and I think that's the advantage that SMBs need to use when it comes to innovation is don't be afraid to fail and try something new, because you can be agile. And if it doesn't work, then next week they try something else. You know, it's the fact that you have the ability to make those changes so quick. And I talk to SMBs all the time. Do it. Go with what your gut is telling you. Do it. Try it. Measure the results, and then change from there. And so I'm glad, Aaron, that you guys were able to do that, because that had to have been rough, right? That's my go-to, Bye Bye Baby, right? So they closed down. All we had was Amazon. So the fact that you were able to do that and not afraid to do so, you didn't sit on it and ponder for weeks. I think when it comes to innovating and taking advantage of the moment, that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we didn't have the choice. I'd love to take some credit, but I don't know that we can. But the net outcome, I mean, I think you raise a valid point that small companies should really keep in mind, which is that we picked up a ton of market share as a result of that pivot. And that is an advantage that smaller companies have that they should always think about and hopefully proactively take risks like that.
Totally. And I think one thing I can add just from a Lulus perspective is we've been around for a while, but again, with everything e-commerce, like we were able to move pretty nimbly on things. So one thing that I think just so amazed by the team for doing is, again, like on a skeleton crew, because we did have to reduce our employee size for a bit. On a skeleton crew, we decided, okay, let's take a look at the trends, what's going to happen, started trying to make predictions. And we realized, look, a lot of events, a lot of weddings are getting canceled, of course, but they're going to be back. And so kind of anticipating this demand and also knowing that we had to expand our business in order to really be able to capitalize and really drive forward after the pandemic. What we ended up doing is we ended up launching, it's the biggest like 360 launch we had ever launched to date in January, which was weddings. So we had taken a look at the data, just knew sort of where the industry was going. We had also taken a look at all of our consumer data, and everyone was coming to us for wedding guest dresses, for bridesmaids dresses. So it felt only natural for us to come out with bridal gowns. And our positioning has always been, hey, we want to make sure that we're delivering a real value in our product and delivering that at an affordable or approachable price. And that was one of the areas that we scoped out that we could really make an impact for our customers, knowing brides gone through so much during the pandemic. I just can't imagine there's already the stress of planning a wedding, and then you have COVID and canceled plans and everything on top of that. So we wanted to give them something special. We were able to offer our dresses. We have over 300 dresses on the site right now that are between $88 and $300. So pretty amazing. And then we focused on giving them little special plus ups, like if you get a dress from us, it's going to come in one of those beautiful, like bridal, like dress bags. It's not going to just, be in your usual packing material. It's a special box. It's a special experience. Just trying to give them a little something extra.
Very useful. Excellent. So Lulus, again, back to you on the large. So Aaron gave us a great example of a small company being able to do things very, very quickly, right? It's almost like a fail faster approach. But I mean, I'm pretty sure when you really use that almost like the wisdom of crowds to rethink the entire process, was it done by a smaller team, or how many people were involved, and how much of executive leadership support is required to get something done like that?
Yeah, the advantage of being in a large privately held company is lots of entrepreneurship around the buildings. So the idea came up, it was pitched, and leadership was behind it. So a lot of it comes, thank our brand teams and our master distillery team for the insight. And in all honesty, it's one of those little bit of art, a little bit of science. Great idea. Everyone was aligned around it, and it's one of those that was just a no-brainer. So not one of those difficult decisions that had to go through lots of red tape and up and down for board approvals. It was just a entrepreneurial idea that everybody got behind and made it work.